want to start by saying thank you for joining us here tonight to mourn the loss of 10 lives from our community. This tragedy is heartbreaking. We are a group of volunteers who are active in participating in a common sense gun reform and education conversation in the community. Also, around a variety of other issues related to gun violence. We have Moms Demand Action volunteers here tonight from Boulder and across Colorado. If you see a red shirt and you want to ask questions, we would be happy to talk to you. But that's not what tonight is about. Tonight, the action that we are taking, the action that everyone here is taking, is to come together to support one another and honor the lives of the 10 victims that were taken through this senseless act of violence. We have gathered tonight, as we have many times before, to mourn together, to share our pain, and to be connected with our community in a way that is true to who we are as parents, grandparents, siblings, friends, and neighbors. And let me be clear, we do not want to be here. But this is what we do. We mourn the lives lost, and we grieve, and then we take action. And we tried our best to prevent another loss. I want to tell you about a couple of our volunteers. We are traumatized. I am an alumni of Virginia Tech. Other volunteers are alumni of Parkland. Another is a doctor who treats victims of domestic violence. Another is a grandfather whose heart broke when his grandson had to tell him about a school shooting drill in preschool. We are all just people who live in this community and who are doing what we can to change the world for the better. This act of coming together to mourn is sadly not new to us, my volunteers. And we are so sorry to be here with all of you. Our hearts are broken, and our festering wounds are split open once again, and this time it's for the whole world to see. We have come together and invited you here because this is how we heal. We gather. We grieve, and when we are feeling bold, we act. If you would like to join us, we will be here for you when you are ready. We've been at this for a while now, and we are not going anywhere. We will wait for you to join us. We have a member of our community here tonight who is an expert in trauma for children. And BVSD will be providing trauma support to our community tomorrow. If you did not receive an email, please look online. This is not easy, and you can ask for help. We also have leaders, neighbors, and friends from our community here to offer up their words to us while we try to find our own. As our guest speakers come up, we invite you to take a step forward if you can, or you can light your flashlight on your phone if you identify with that community. Again, thank you for being here tonight. We are all here in unity, and through this act of being together, we become less weak and more Boulder strong. If you are a leader of the faith community and would like to represent your faith during a prayer, I'd like to invite you to step forward or light your flashlight on your phone to be recognized. I'd like to introduce you to Rabbi Fred Green from Congregation Har Hasham for an opening prayer.
I want to begin by saying, at any time tonight, if you feel that this is too much, it's okay to step aside. It's okay to go to a safe place. It's okay to reach for your friends or family. We're going to say, take care of yourself. If you need to, you can even text TALK to 38255 Colorado Crisis Services or other Lifeline networks. I want to begin and teach you some Hebrew. It won't hurt. I promise you. In the book of Deuteronomy, in chapter 22, there's this concluding phrase relating to a conversation about returning lost property. It seems pretty mundane, but I can't stop thinking about this one phrase this week. The phrase is lo tuchal lehitalem. Most people will translate this as you must not be indifferent. It's a nice sentiment, but it's not my translation. Lo in Hebrew means no. Tuchal isn't must not, it is cannot. Lehitalem may mean to conceal or hide or ignore. So I want to translate the message again. Instead of you must not be indifferent, let's make it you cannot hide. You cannot hide yourself. You cannot disappear. Tonight, you cannot hide from the shock, from the grief and from the hurt. You cannot hide from your neighbors, your family, or your community. I'm begging you, don't hide. Be real. Stretch. Stretch to create that brave space where we can be just a little vulnerable with one another. Our authentic and true selves, so that we can share some grief and share our anger and share our frustrations. That same phrase, lo tuchal lehitalem, it was translated by a rabbi in Germany in the 19th century, and I think he actually says it best. Listen to his words. Instead of you must not be indifferent, he says, it shall not be in your power to hold yourself back. It shall not be in your power to hold yourself back. In an effort to restore justice and integrity to our community, it shall not be in our power to hold ourselves back. Tonight, we don't have to hold ourselves back. We can cry and yell and share and talk. And friends, when our grieving lightens and when our mourning turns a corner but might not go away anytime soon, it will be time to get to work, to advocate, to advance a place where we bring some measure of meaning and comfort to this community and to the murdered victims' lives. Lo tuchal lehitalem, we cannot hide from this. So please, God, give us the strength to not hide from this world. Help us to not hide from ourselves, from the grief we carry, from the hurt we experience. Give us the strength to not hide from the community and show up. Show up for one another with acts of love and kindness. You have given us the ability, O God, to make choices. Help us to choose to stand up for one another and not hide our voices, our outrage, or our acts of compassion. Let us not hide behind an entitlement of rights and instead focus on the responsibilities we have to one another. Help us to not hide from the world, to face the chaos and the voids that bubble up to the surface and confront us like hatred and bias and gun violence. Help us to be incapable of indifference. Help us to be impatient with injustice. And as we strive to show up and not hide, I'm going to say to you, stand with our Muslim neighbors too, who are already being blamed for one man's heinous acts of violence. And as we strive to show up and not hide, let us not put blame on folks with mental illness without understanding what that really means. Otherwise, those with mental health challenges will continue to hide and hurt with a silent sorrow. Help us to live somehow with the fact that Boulder joins Columbine and Aurora and Parkland and Newtown, Atlanta, Charleston, Las Vegas, Pittsburgh, and just too many others. May the Holy One of Presence, of showing up, of never hiding, help us to do the same, to show up, to remain incapable of indifference to the wounds of our neighbors, to the unwarranted hate toward our neighbors, to strive to not hide, but bring our presence into the world, filling it with light, with love, and with justice. Blessed are you, God of healing, source of strength for survivors of violence in every land and every age. Amen.
The grief that we are experiencing as a community is a lot to process. But we find hope in the action that our youth are taking to show us what their future looks like. If you are a student or alumni of Fairview High School or a student at CU Boulder, please feel free to light the flashlight on your phone and hold it up and join our next guest. I would like to introduce Aisha Rawal and Kaden McGee, who are both former Fairview students and founding members of Students Demand Action at Fairview.
Hi, everyone. My name is Aisha Rawal. 3 years ago, in March 2018, I stood with my peers at that football field over there, mourning the loss of life from the Parkland shooting. 3 years later, we are gathered here to mourn the loss of 10 beloved lives. Friends, family, and cherished members of our community. What can you really say to a community who is going through this? To the families of the victims? There are no words to describe this kind of pain. I stand before you, bearing witness to our communal pain. We will never forget people who we lost in the tragic events of this week. My heart is with the families and friends who have been personally affected. That grocery store has been a cornerstone of the South Boulder and Fairview community for as long as I can remember. For many of us Fairview students, taking the bus to King Soopers during off periods and lunches was our first taste of independence. For me and my friends, King Soopers was reliable. It was safe. It was a place that many of us grew up at. There was one thing we could all count on finding at that grocery store, and that was community. The roots of our souls are intertwined with these mountains, these streets. Under these skies, we stand in solidarity. There are truly no words to describe this loss. It will no doubt take us time to heal. Let us hold each other through this pain. Let us always remember each of the lives we've lost, and let us honor the courage and sacrifice of these beautiful souls. Thank you.
Hello all, my name is Caden, and I live walking distance to where I stand right now, and I graduated from the school that I'm standing in front of right now, and I also live walking distance to King's. And this hits really close to home for more reasons than I can think of, and I don't mean literally, because I can also see it in every face here that you know what I'm talking about. There's a lump in your throat. There's a deep pit in your stomach that comes from tragedy. It doesn't come from any other place but the depth of a tragedy where you think in the back of your head, this is a place where I have been, this is a place where I could have been, and any one of us here could have been there to experience it. And that's exactly why I think every face is here today. Because many among us are grieving. And we have all lost something. And we are here to grieve together, to celebrate and to remember the lives of friends, of neighbors, and loved ones lost, because their lives were a blessing to all of us here. The loss of a friend, a parent, and unimaginably a child is completely unfathomable. And we are here in this moment of suffering and need to grieve as a community this loss together and to help each other bear the weight of a tragedy like this, the weight of that pit in the very deepest part of your stomach, which is why we have to lift each other up. And the only way to do so is together. The only way we can be better is together. And the only way to be Boulder strong is together. Thank you.
Thank you both for being here. Next, if you are a member of the Muslim faith community and would like to be recognized, please light the flashlight on your phone to be identified. I would like to introduce you to Tracy Smith. She is a Boulder neighbor and a spokesperson for and a member of the Islamic Center of Boulder. Tracy, we welcome you.
Assalamu alaikum. May peace be upon you. My name is Tracy. I'm representing the Islamic Center of Boulder. Thank you for your support. There are 10 empty spaces in our hearts, 10 lives lost. We are grieving as families, friends, neighbors, fellow Boulderites. We are all connected in this way now, but this also connects us to those who we lost on Monday. The pain we feel binds us together and ensures we will not forget a single one of them. We also know that now they are here in a different way. When the sun rises and sets, when the snow falls, when the birds fly overhead, when the deer come down from the foothills and wander around our neighborhoods, when butterflies light on the flowers in our garden, when we feel the sun on our face, hear the rain on the roof, they are here. As citizens of Boulder, of the Boulder community, members of the Islamic Center of Boulder will always remember the 10 people who died at King Soopers. They were mothers, fathers, daughters, sons, friends, employees, and beautiful people who did not deserve horror and suffering on that terrible day. Everyone deserves the right to safely live their lives without fear. Our hearts are heavy and full of compassion and sorrow for the victims, those who love them, and all those who experience trauma and violence. Sadly, adding to the pain of this terrible time, the Muslim community is experiencing an increase in fear, stress, and anxiety because of the very name of the suspect. We just want to check in with our Boulder neighbors and ask you to be extra mindful of your Muslim friends right now. I have spoken to some who are afraid to leave the house, others who are changing up the paths of their daily walks, women fearful of wearing their hijabs in public, and men with beards who feel they will be targeted. The suspect does not represent the Muslim community. He doesn't represent Islam. He just happens to have a Muslim name. Islam teaches us to live our best lives. We want everyone to live their best lives, whatever that might look like. Muslims want to live in harmony in their communities. If anyone would like to ask questions about Muslim life or about Islam, I invite them to contact the Islamic Center of Boulder. We are always available. That being said, are we good now? This sounds better. All that being said, the outpouring of love and support we have received at the Islamic Center of Boulder this week has been overwhelming. All this kindness coming from a community already grieving the loss of their own sweet neighbors. They still have space in their hearts for extra comfort and generosity for Muslims. We would like to thank Boulder for this kindness. We are so grateful. Thank you, Boulder, for showing up for us in a time of deep, deep sorrow and great pain. But this is not about us. We are all residents of the city of Boulder, and we feel the anguish and the heartache that runs throughout the entire Boulder community. We stand shoulder to shoulder with our Boulder neighbors in grief and solidarity. Boulder Police Officer Eric Talley will be remembered for his sacrifice and his heroism. We will never, never forget the 10 victims of this terrible tragedy. If ICB can help fill a gap or support in any way, please, please reach out to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. Next, if you are one of our local or state elected representatives or officials and would like to be recognized, we invite you to stand at the front of the stage or light the flashlight on your phone. I am proud to welcome to the stage Congressman Joe Neguse, a man who needs no introduction. We feel so fortunate to have a leader who not only represents our district so well on the national stage, he is also an extremely active participant in the local communities for which he serves. I also want to take a moment and just thank all of you for being here. We are so lucky to have such an active community, such a supportive community, and that starts with your leadership. Let me get you the sanitized one.
I want to first say thank you to everyone for being here tonight. It has been a devastating week for Boulder, Colorado. And I know many of us are still in shock, in disbelief about the tragedy that unfolded just a few mere days ago. There are simply no words to describe it. When I heard about the tragedy unfolding on Monday, my response, like many of you, was as a spouse, as a husband, as a father, and as a member of the Boulder community. And I join you tonight the same with my fellow public servants from local, state, and federal government, devastated for this community that we love, and in anguish over senseless violence and unimaginable loss. 10 lives, 10 precious lives lost too soon and remembered by so many. Tonight we are keeping them each in our prayers. Officer Talley, Denny, Nevin, Ricky, Trelona, Suzanne, Terry, Kevin, Lynn, Jody. I was not lucky enough to know the individuals that we have lost personally, but I've been lucky enough, like so many of us, to learn about them, to read about them. read the kind and endearing and powerful memories of the children and the friends and the coworkers and the neighbors who shared time and precious memories with each of them, and to speak to some of their loved ones about the special and tremendous impact that each of them had on our community. For those loved ones, for the friends and family members of the victims, we mourn with you, we are praying with you, and we are praying for you, for peace, for comfort, for solace, as you grieve and as you process the tragedy of this week. And while we know that words cannot match the depths of your sorrow or heal your wounded hearts, we hope you know that you're not alone in your grief, and that we mourn together, our entire community, for the unfinished lives, the unfinished memories, the unfinished futures. There's a quote by a Scottish poet, Thomas Campbell, some of you may be familiar with, who once said that to live in hearts we leave behind is not to die. As you remember them, as we remember them, those we have lost, as you share stories about them, as you recount your experiences with them, we know they will live in the hearts of so many. I've spoken to a lot of my colleagues from across the country this week. Two of my colleagues, Congressman Crow and Congressman Perlmutter, have joined us tonight, as well as the Attorney General and the Mayor of Boulder, Boulder City Council, members of the state legislature. And what I've said to those colleagues who've called from different parts of the country is that I know the grief we are carrying here in Boulder is not ours alone, but carried by a nation that has witnessed the horrific pain of gun violence far too many times. And what has pained me the most is that it doesn't have to be this way. It does not have to be this way. We can change the laws. We can work to save lives, to protect our communities, and ensure that violent tragedies like our community has witnessed this week never happen again. And I can promise you, on behalf of every single public servant here with us this evening, that we will do everything in our power to make that a reality. I'll simply close by saying this. My wife, Andrea, who's here with me, we're so honored to be a part of this community. We've lived in Boulder County for many years. Andrea was born in Boulder. We both went to school here, and it's our community. And we know that Boulder County is strong. The city of Boulder is a kind, compassionate, and resilient community. And that we will come together and support one another during this terrible, terrible tragedy. In the words of Maya Angelou, love heals and liberates. And so the most important thing we can do right now, in my view, in this time of sadness, in the wake of tragedy, is to love each other, is to be kind to each other, to take care of one another. And I hope each and every one of us will do the same. So thank you all so much for being here.
It's okay. We all grieve in our own way. We all have our own voice. You've allowed us to be some of your voice tonight, and we appreciate that, but you should not be silenced. Thank you, Congressman, and thank you to all of our representatives for being here tonight. We really appreciate it. If you are a member or staff or the administration of CU Boulder, please light the flashlight on your cell phone or raise your candle. We live in a world where sometimes words can lose their meaning, or sometimes we have no words. But words matter, and they can provide a roadmap to healing, connection, and honoring our shared experiences. I am so grateful to our next guest, Dr. Khadija Queen, Assistant Professor of Creative Writing at CU Boulder, who will be reading her poem, Landmarks, written in response to Monday's events.
Good evening. Y'all hear me all right? My name is Khadija Queen. I'm a mother, professor, Navy veteran, poet, and resident of Boulder County. I'd like to acknowledge that the land we currently stand and sit upon is the traditional territory of the Cheyenne, Arapaho, and Ute nations. I'd like to thank Nicole and the other volunteers from Moms Demand Action for inviting me to offer a few words to all of you tonight who've come here to honor the lives lost in our community and in communities like ours across the country. Landmarks. Ordinary monuments. Take the interstate, exit right before the mall, past the bowling alley, turn left at the post office, take the roundabout by the hospital, turn right at the gas station. Don't go past Walmart and Rite Aid and Waffle House, or you've gone too far. We try to track the sites of trauma we drive past: nightclubs, day spas, movie theaters, elementary schools, high schools, colleges, concert halls, synagogues, churches, mosques, homes where we once slept, ate, laughed, eased our troubles, made some trouble, watched football and played video games, gathered together in highest life, in worship, in praise of love, in celebration, and we fail. We cannot count the losses or their places, but we don't give up. We keep trying. We keep fighting. We shape our failures into resolve. Every disaster tattooed into our bloodstreams like faults in the earth. Let us erupt. Let us mark the moment our voices and our works turned to roots bound to build shelter. The moment we reshaped the distance between us into song. A song for remembering that the grief etched in flesh and bone can teach us how to protect each other. Thank you.
Thank you. If you are a member of Moms Demand Action, please step forward or light a flashlight on your cell phone or candle to be recognized. I am truly honored to be working side by side with my friend Christina. Christina is an amazing mother, activist, teacher, ally, and friend. I would be lost without her in my life these last few years. Christina and I met for outdoor lunch last Friday to discuss how our group could respond and create space after the Atlanta shooting. I was so thankful for our conversation and her ideas on how we could proceed forward. We had no idea where we would be this week. But I find great comfort that we have been by one another's side every day.
Hi, thank you all for being here this evening. I'm unfortunately not a poet. I'm not a wonderful elected official like all of those with us. But I am a mom. I am a high school teacher at New Vista. And I've been a member of the South Boulder community for 6 years. And as a member of this community, it is with heartache that I am here before you. But it is also with the hope that we will do, as so many have mentioned tonight, that we will come together, we will find a way to make sense of this senseless tragedy, that we will push forward measures that will keep all of us safe, that will keep all of our communities united, that will keep all of us alive tomorrow, next week, next month, and in the years to come. That no other community has to experience what we have experienced here this week. King Soopers was and is a huge part of my family's life. My three kids and I have been going there since we moved here from Brooklyn. I was heavily pregnant with her the first time we went to King Soopers. And the first time I tried to shop at King Soopers with a newborn and a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, using those giant carts that the kids want to get in. And it was, of course, employees like Terry and her husband who would give my kids pennies and make them laugh and help me outside and help keep me sane when I felt like my kids were running crazy everywhere. And we know Emily, who is here as well. I'm so glad she's here. And I'm thankful for all of the employees at King Soopers, for all of the families who shopped there, for all of the families who were affected this week. And as a member of Everytown Survivor Network, my heart aches for those families whose loved ones have had their lives cut short by gun violence this week. And to any of you who are now survivors as of this week of gun violence in our own neighborhood, we are here to support you. I've been a volunteer with Moms Demand Action for several years, and I became a member of Everytown Survivor Network when my dear friend and former colleague, Nair, was killed in 2019 in New York. I would like you all to please join me as we say the names and remember those who were killed in Atlanta last week on March 16th. And I would like to welcome Christine Chen, who is a South Boulder resident, to read those names.
Delana Ashley Yan. Xiao Jie Tan. Dao Youfeng. Paul Andre Michel. Hyunjung Grant. Soonjung Park. Sunja Kim. Young A Yu.
And now please join me in remembering those who were killed this week at King Soopers. Sholana Bartakawiak. Suzanne Fontaine. Terry Leiker. Kevin Mahoney. Lynn Murray. Ricky Olds. Denny Stong. Nevin Stanisic. Eric Talley. Jody Waters. If you have lost someone close to you to gun violence as well, please feel free to say their name now. Nair McCormick. And now I would like to welcome, with immense gratitude, Charles Lee, Principal Cellist of the Boulder Philharmonic.
So our sun has set and our Boulder winds are moving in. We had a beautiful day today and we're gonna expect some snow tomorrow. And that's just how it goes here. For our last closing remarks, we're gonna end this event the way we began, in prayer. But before we do that, I want to give the opportunity for any of the victims' families who want to step forward. They may, but everyone grieves in their own way, and you may remain anonymous in the crowd. Additionally, King Soopers employees were greatly affected by this tragedy. We will give you the opportunity to step forward if you choose, but you may remain anonymous. You do not have to show yourself here. I want to say a heartfelt, sincere thank you to all of the people who have given to make this event come together. I used to plan events for months in my past life, and through all of the moving pieces, findings of things, promotion, mistakes, phone calls, text messages, so many text messages, Zoom calls, favors, tears, laughter, watching of children, and the very complex nature of pulling something like this off on such short notice and little sleep. You have all been exceptional, and I thank you. The community thanks you. And I would like to introduce now Pastor Randy Spalding of the Boulder Mennonite Church for a closing.
I invite you to pray and to bring your best intentions and desires to this closing moment. Let us pray. Spirit of love, eternal light, and great healer, tonight we have stood together to express our unity and our commitment. We stand as one people against the violence that has touched this community and every corner of every part of our country. May we never forget those who have died, nor become complacent to such violent acts. Spirit of love, console those who mourn. Grant peace to those who are no longer with us. Help us commit ourselves to journey on the path toward a more perfect peace. Peace in our hearts, in all of our homes, our towns, and our cities, to a place where the sound of gunfire is stilled and the laughter of children and youth fill the air. Bless our first responders and all who have been intimately involved in this tragedy. Spirit of justice, as we leave this place, help us find our voice. May we turn from the worship of power. May we have the courage to confront our false gods and to protest the needless deaths caused by gun violence. May we rise above our dread that nothing can be done and have the conviction to advocate for real, lasting change. For the dream of a world where children are safe and all of us live together without fear. Eternal One, make us instruments of peace. May we travel safely this night as we go from here. Spirit of life, we pray. Amen. Amen.
Thank you all. Thank you so much for supporting one another. Be kind to each other. Leaving this area, it's going to be crowded and it's going to take time. If you have items to leave at the memorial, We will take them for you, and we have bins to collect those items just in front of the stage. If you feel good today, but feel awful tomorrow, reach out to someone, ask for support. And when you feel ready, we will be here. Have a good evening.